This episode is brought to you by Vital Farms. Isn't it bullshit to have to question where your food comes from? At Vital Farms, you can trace your pasture-raised eggs all the way back to the source, the pasture. On the side of each pasture-raised carton of eggs, you'll find the name of the farm where your eggs were laid. And when you look the farm up on their website, you'll get a peek at all the sunshine, fresh air, and open space the hens enjoy. Learn more and find out where to buy them at vitalfarms.com. Vital Farms, keeping it bullshit free.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. I'm really excited about today's guest, Carson Spitzke. He's a growth marketing expert. He's also a 2 times Amazon bestseller at the tender age of 21. He's the founder of Spitz Solutions. We're going to find out what all that is, but today's talk is going to be all about marketing, growth. I'm really excited about this conversation. It's a real interest of mine and happy to welcome Carson to the show. Welcome, Carson.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris, and great intro.
Yeah, I know you're coming off kind of a sprint with your business. Talk people about your story, your background, what you do, and we'll dive right into the conversation.
Yeah, sure. So we do a couple of different things. The main thing we do on our end is like public relations, right? Perception, helping people become more credible, getting more exposure. And this manifests itself in various forms. The one in which we're doing it most commonly, and we're doing it for ourselves, is helping a lot of our clients that have active sales teams or actively prospect. We want to make sure that we're helping them become more focused, able to get more leads, higher quality leads with bigger companies, and they can close those deals quicker and more seamlessly. Like how we do this is we use a mix of kind of just different growth marketing strategies, but also getting our clients featured on various publications so they're more trusted and more established in the eyes of the people they're reaching out to at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that. It sounds like you're talking, it's going to be a really interesting conversation because it's going to be all about PR and outreach. And so kind of first thing is talking about the power of online first impressions.
Yeah, so what we see pretty commonly, I'll just use a couple of different perspectives. Most of the people we work with, they either get clients through events, referrals, like cold outbound or some other channel. How it always ends up coming around, whether it's the first step or whether it's the second step, right, is they are going to look you up in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's off of an event where you have a good connection. They do some due diligence on you, right? They're going to do a quick little Google search. They're going to go to your website. They're going to basically check, kind of make sure I forget the right word. It's like the accolades you have or how you present yourself matches, whether it's over email, whether it's over social, or whether it's over in person, right? And so what we look to do off of that is we just want to make sure if someone's doing their due diligence, whether it's on the person, whether it's on the company, that they're popping up and they're doing well for that search. Like, for example, Christopher H. Liu, what you could do, and I don't know if you've done this already, I didn't take a Google search, but you could just put a simple press release with your name in the title, right? $300, go on AccessWire and put it out, right? And what that would do is that would just make you more likely to pass that initial check. And really, you can go a lot further, right? With pitching journalists, with optimizing your socials, optimizing your site, optimizing everything as far as that goes. But really, that's kind of the base step, because how we look at it is, sure, you can toot your own horn, but it's way better if you have other people or other companies tooting your own horn for you. And that can be in the form of testimonials, press, podcasts, really anything under the sun.
Yeah, I love that. And kind of reminds me, because a lot of the audience listening to this, they're doctors, they don't really have time. But, one thing is talking about is if you're, I was talking with another guest and he was saying, if you're not online, like social media or even at LinkedIn or Facebook, you don't exist because people are going online to search for you. And if you don't, it's basically free advertising. The next question is, when you talk about PR, and then you basically navigating the PR landscape, and how do you integrate PR into marketing and sales?
Yeah, sure. So how we look at it is it all comes back to human psychology at the end of the day. And this ties deeper than just an online presence. Like everything from marketing, from your interactions, you want to be unique. You want to be differentiated, whether it's your company and the positioning, your offers. You don't necessarily have to differentiate on the services you provide, but if it's perceived as slightly different, that helps. And I'll use a bit of an example here. This is kind of a bait question here, Chris, but do you get a fair amount of emails per day?
Say again, do I get what?
Do you get a fair amount of emails per day just pitching you on random stuff?
Yeah, they're really annoying, by the way. So
Yeah, exactly. No one really wants them. But what they're doing is they're either attempting to get a meeting or they're attempting to get a reply. Those are fine at the end of the day. But what's a way better strategy is giving something that can be nurtured into a meeting, like something that you would actively say yes to. Like, for example, I said yes to this podcast and I was invited. That's a great meeting mechanism that if like you wanted to, for example, Chris, and this could be exactly what you're going for, right? You could nurture it into a meeting and into trust and into a relationship. And by all means, if someone is pitching me the same thing, but they're 10 different people are pitching it, I'm likely going to end up going with Chris because he's more likely to actually have that relationship, have the unique positioning, and at the end of the day, be perceived as better and different, right? So that's really all we try and establish for our clients. It's more turning something into something that can be nurtured into a meeting rather than going for a meeting or going for interest in our services, really.
Yeah. Along those lines, kind of, it's really interesting because it sounds like there's these marketing agencies or whatnot, and they just basically cold outreach, and then what's interesting is they either you respond. So if you respond, they try and funnel you into a meeting or a Calendly that you have no idea what the purpose is, and kind of wasting everybody's time. Or if you don't respond, then they keep on badgering you, those kind of things. And it's like I said, it's really annoying, and it's kind of, even your spam filters or block, they still get through somehow. But that's a different story. But talking about, so kind of cold reach. So basically, does cold outreach still work? Because people, like most people, they don't respond and all that. But using cold outreach to break barriers with anyone without being spammy, and talk about how have cold emailing techniques evolved.
Yeah, so there's 4% of people actively in the market that are actively looking for like your service, your product, or open to discussing, right? Obviously, if you just hit someone with, hey, would you be looking to do some SEO, right? Not exactly the most powerful offer, but you are still going to get people saying yes if they're actively in the market for it. And the other point too is you're going to have people, let's say it's around 20% of the market that know they will need it, but maybe they're not in the market for it right now. Right? By saying, hey, do you want to do some SEO services, right? You're probably not going to say yes. I'm just using it as an example. But what does happen is if you're hitting it from the perspective of nurturing them over time, making them say yes to something that they will enjoy, they are more likely to come to you eventually if you nurture them properly at the end of the day. And if what you're making them say yes to is so powerful that they're just going to say yes regardless, you can then nurture the bottom 80% into people that realize, oh, shoot, yeah, I could actually see the value of doing something like this. And then, okay, let's get started and let's see if it actually makes sense to do something like this at the end of the day. Yeah. But yeah, cold outreach, I don't really think it's dead. It's just evolving because over the past 2 or 3 years, what's happening, because we do a lot of this, it's become way easier, way less costly to send out emails, send out LinkedIn messages, everything. Compared to ads or social media DMs, it's way easier just to blast out emails, right? Nothing wrong with it. Your cost per lead goes down, the ability to send more goes up, but the saturation levels and the market sophistication goes way up, right? Because in 2020, 2021, you'd be way more likely to reply to a random cold email than you would be today from what I've seen.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Next thing is, so basically, we talk about, kind of getting booked, and then And then you also get talk about how to get booked calls for less than a dime. This is interesting. This is for my own curiosity, but talk about that.
Yeah, it is very much like still B2B marketing at the end of the day. How we look at it is you can get data for super cheap. You can set up, how we look at it is you use cold email, or you can cold call, or you can use social media. Social media is probably the easiest, the cheapest, because everyone has a LinkedIn account, everyone has an Instagram account, everyone has a Facebook account, right? And even if you use automation tools, there's still going to be really cost inefficient ways. I'll go through how we're doing it over email in a second, but Instagram, if you're going to send out DMs, obviously if you're leading with something that people want to get, like for example, if you're trying to book people in for your podcast, you book in a high value individual, that's going to be free. Obviously the podcast production side, there's probably going to be maybe some money that goes into it. I'm going to assume like StreamYards or Zoom or whatever you're using does have a cost. You do have to edit it, something like that. But at the end of the day, if you're asking at the end, hey, would you be open to exploring X, Y, and Z? Then if they say yes, and you just book them in for free. But it's kind of a bit misleading. What we're doing on our end is we're doing this over cold email, right? How I would do this is I would get a lead list. I would use a tool like Apollo or D7 Lead Finder or something like that just to get emails. I would set up with like domain sending infrastructure. And because your audience is doctors, how I would do this for them is I would look to do this to build potential partnerships with people in my area that could refer out other people to me. I'm sure you can find a list of, I don't know who would be good referral partners. Maybe, I don't know, insurance providers or something like that. I'm sure you can find a list of those people and you can build up a conversation, nurture them so that they are sending you business month over month, year over year. But all you really need is you need a lead list. You need a sending tool. You can send emails manually, but I would use tools like Instantly or Smartly.ai. And at the end of the day, like that's really all there is to it.
Yeah. Kind of the next question is when you talk about, kind of this brands, and how can brands position themselves as a trusted authority?
Yeah. Outside of Google presence and like hitting people with something that they actually want to do rather than just pitching them, all we see is just resonating with your market from either a storytelling side or like a pain point side. From what I've seen work really well, if you're able to analyze what your audience cares about, what their deepest fears are, their deepest goals are, and if you're then able to turn that into marketing material, whether it's like case studies, whether it's articles, whether it's like videos and things like that, that actually go through and kind of answer those objections or answer those questions in a way that makes them feel confident about you as a service provider, you as a person, and the results you can deliver, they're going to be exponentially more likely to have trust in you and perceive you as a market authority. Even if you may not be like the ultimate, even if you might not be the best service provider out there, if you can be perceived as the best service provider out there, you're going to get the lion's share of like clients or patients that want to go with you at the end of the day.
Yeah. I love that. The next question is when you were an Amazon bestseller at 21, what challenges did you face? How did you overcome it? Kind of talk about that.
Yeah, from the book perspective, it was interesting. I did collab on this with a friend of mine. So all we did, neither of us had a really big social media presence. And obviously, like we knew from our perspectives for our company, for our personal brands, for our client acquisition, that having something like Amazon bestseller would help a ton. So all we really did when we actually posted our books was we literally just ran ads. We just ran ads straight to the book to get people to purchase. And we made it a super low price so we could go up the rankings. And really, I think we spent around, I think it was $500,000 for people to buy the book. And that ended up getting us number one on those books. And obviously we're now able to use bestseller on Amazon. So it wasn't really too difficult. The promotion side is really not that hard. It's the writing side that's kind of a pain because again, you don't know how you want to style the book. You don't know what you want to talk about. You don't know how to catalog the chapters. But all we really did at the end of the day was we threw in what we're doing within our companies, or we're doing, because these were books that came out last year, how we're doing it, kind of documenting everything, like really just documenting the step-by-step process we would do, and then obviously marketing the results in the book through ads, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love I've written 4 books, and it's kind of I love talking about, just everybody has a book in them, and there's a good quote one of my mentors said is start, just good things come to those who write, because writing gets you more publicity, builds your brand, leads to more opportunities, and you can parlay it into your own brand, social media, etc. The next question is your experience working with TEDx and other publicly traded companies. What are some key takeaways from these collabs?
Yeah, so everything I've seen is I've gotten kind of lucky working with larger organizations. Half the time I'm getting right to the main decision maker. And I think it's kind of just the company size and the slot too, where it's a lower end employee size organization where I can reach the main decision maker without a lot of bureaucracy. And they also have shorter sales cycles. But really, like talking to one of those, like talking to a high end like CEO versus a like everyday, like even just like a 7-figure doctor or something like that, it's a way different conversation. At the end of the day, if you don't necessarily have to do anything as far as like qualifying or diagnosing, because if they're on the call, they know they have an issue. They just need to know why the issue is relevant. Why can you solve their problem? And at the end of the day, how you can even help in the first place. So those calls, whenever I get on a call with like a high-end like CEO, it's like a 10, 15-minute call and they have a decision right away. Just because all I'm asking is, okay, like what would you actually be looking to accomplish? What have you guys done in the past? Like, what are the requirements to look at this? What are the hurdles we need to go through? And then this is what we can do. This is the clear ROI of it. This is the exact process timeline. Here's our guarantees. And really, that's generally enough where if they're hopping on the call, they're so like ready to do it in the first place that it's a pretty easy sales cycle. For other companies like TEDx or larger organizations where it's a bit more of a sales cycle, it is more nurturing. It is more having an in with one person, having that one person carry it. I've gotten a little bit lucky. I haven't really had to do anything where I'm carrying it past multiple departments or anything like that. So I would count myself a little bit lucky. But at the end of the day, it is just like pushing volume and getting a little bit lucky. Like volume negates skill, in my opinion. So, I mean, I guess I just got a bit lucky.
Yeah. And then kind of, as a final takeaway is talk about this idea of key components of a compelling story that not only captures attention, but also drives action. And then finally, to close it out, how do people follow you, check out your social media, check out your work, and so on?
Yeah. And how I look at stories is you can look at it from a client acquisition perspective, or you can just look at it from a general perspective. From a general storytelling perspective, you want to lead with a really dynamic hook or first couple of paragraphs. I like to look at storytelling similar to video production. No one's going to keep watching if your first 5 seconds suck, right? And what you have to do in those first 5 seconds, you have to hook them. You have to be unique in some way, shape, or form. Doing it from a PR storytelling perspective means you have to be newsworthy. You have to be timely. You have to deliver some kind of value, or you really just have to showcase why that reader should continue scrolling down. And all you're doing in that hook is you're promising that, hey, there's going to be a lot of value here. And you should keep reading. And then all you really have to do is you keep going through is you just have to deliver on your promise of providing value, right? If your hook, for example, is on, I'll just use an example. If it's on the financial independence retire early method, like where you can retire with 30 or 40 with a lot of money saved, right? Mm-hmm. All you have to do with that is if you're claiming, hey, how anyone can fire early, retire early, all you have to do is deliver on the promise. If you start talking about your dog or your day or something like that, no one's really going to care and they're going to click off, right? Same thing with the video. So you really just want to make a bold claim, deliver on that bold claim. That's really all it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that. How can people follow you, check out your work, etc.?
Yeah, website, Spitz Solutions. That's if you want like done for you PR services. I do write for some medical-based publications as well. So if you're a doctor listening to this and you want to take advantage of that, shoot me an email at carson@spitzsolutions.com. I'll shoot you over the questions and we'll get an article for you. If you want to follow my content, LinkedIn and Twitter, Carson Spitzke for both. Those are the easiest ways to find me. Outside of that, I'm really a hermit on social media.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, let's thank Carson for coming out. I know he's got some, a lot of stuff going on in his business. So thank him for his time and his wisdom and expertise. All of his resources will be in the links and show notes. Be sure to check those out, follow him. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you, Chris.